we haven't seen it yet, but it looks like Tua's got the full arm sleeve going. We saw that ad he did where we already knew he had the stuff around the shoulder, but now you just see something creeping through there on the wrist, and it will lead you to believe that he's got that full sleeve. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that him having a sleeve is a massive deal like Donovan initially wanted to talk about. That's just not the case. It's definitely not meaning he's taking over the league, which is literally the exact conversation Donovan wanted to have.
That into a takes over the NFL.
Yeah, and I vetoed that. I said that sounds like BS. Nobody's going to buy into that. What people can buy into and what I can buy into is I think this starts is like a little bit of a start of the resurgence of the moxie that Tua might have. That he was a very confident player in college. Those first couple seasons in the NFL, he came out and spoke about how he was looking himself in the mirror, wondering if he's actually good at the quarterback position. And then last year, he has the season that he has, was cut back a little bit by injuries. But let's say those injuries didn't happen. You're possibly looking like a 4,500-yard passer and a very successful season, potentially winning a playoff game. We have now seen him. Looks like he's got the tats. That shows at least a little bit of confidence. Do you think the mentality that Tua has is gone full circle and it's finally at a place where he's truly confident in himself?
I think he's truly confident in himself finally. I do think that, he embraced this whole personality that Mike McDaniel kind of pushed onto the team. Like, hey, be yourself. You are good. Go and be good. And he talked about it, and he also talked about, okay, I have someone ringing my doorbell. I'll be right back.
Well, maybe he will, maybe he won't be. Is this the last we see of Donovan Quick on the show? Good luck. Anyways, I'll continue talking about this, and hopefully Donovan returns to us. Uh, Naturally, so when if you're Tua Tagovailoa, the way that Brian Flores handled that situation, the way he played his first couple seasons, it makes sense that as a man who, especially in his shoes, has had so much success, played at such a high level in high school, played at the top level, won a national championship in college, you're used to being at those heights, and then to come out and play like you did, to be treated by your coach like you did, to be treated by the media like you did, it makes a lot of sense that you just feel like you're being pushed off a cliff, and that is that is your reality. And obviously, getting a anybody could get a tattoo. I kind of want a tattoo. I'm not really sure if I'm going to get, but doing something along those lines shows you're comfortable, shows you're a little bit more confident, shows that you're not worried as much of what people are talking about or how people are talking about you. You're letting yourself be noticed. You're letting yourself stand out a little bit. It's kind of the mentality of people with tattoos, like on the negative side, which is, I think it's absolutely ridiculous, but like they're seen as cocky, they're seen as arrogant, whereas most of the time they're just like, I just like tattoos. But one thing that you can certainly say about most people, like, that have something like that going on is they feel very, very confident in themselves. They feel confident in their own skin, literally speaking, comfortable in their own skin. So welcome back. He did not die. Glad to see it. Him getting that full sleeve tells me that he just went through the first offseason basically where he wasn't tried to be replaced, as far as we know of with the Tom Brady situation. As far as we're aware, he just went through his first offseason where they didn't try to replace him. He went through his first full season where the coach actually believed in him, and we saw him ball out, and he's been given the keys to continue that into this season. And I think the way the coaching staffs handle him, the way the front offices handled him previously, and then now you look at how he's being treated now, it makes a lot more sense that mentally he's in just infinitely better of a place than he was, let's say, a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Absolutely. I got the second part of what you were just saying there. His confidence has definitely got to be a lot better, 100% than was a year ago, or even definitely 2 years ago. And he's pushed that into his off-season training. He's pushed even harder than he has before. Taking on the jiu-jitsu this year, he was talking about no homo, being thrown around by guys in the jiu-jitsu classes all the time.
Did he have socks on? Did he have socks on?
He had socks.
Okay,
he had socks
on. We're good, Tua.
Anyways, he talked about that, and he talked about building a lot of strength in his neck. That's why his traps look absolutely huge this offseason.
That's actually like the one thing I haven't been working on. I need to hit the traps a little bit.
I have like natural traps, but anyways,
that's just fat.
This is not fat at all.
Proceed.
Anyways, as I was saying, uh, yeah, he's building up the neck muscles. He worked hard. You can obviously see he's has much thicker legs. He has much thicker arms. He's built up a lot of muscle, and
He's gotten a
to
little hot.
absorb those hits. Absorb because we know that Armstead is going to miss games. We know that the left guard spot is questionable at the time. We know that the right tackle spot is questionable at the time. That's his blind side. So we know that he's doing everything he can to protect himself and stay on the field as much as possible because he knows that when he was on the field last year, he freaking balled. But you got to be able to stay upright. You got to be able to. Look at I just replayed that Green Bay game over and over again in my head. Like as soon as that head hit the turf, it was like, okay, bye third year Tua, hello Nathan Peterman.
Basically, that's basically how Skylar Thompson played last year. But yeah, that physical nature to it.
I said Nathan Peterman, bro.
And I know it.
Where does Skylar Thompson slander come from?
Because he basically played like Nathan Peterman. What can I say? He may have played worse than Nathan Peterman, basically. Minus the interceptions. He played like Nathan Peterman minus the interceptions. So he just didn't do anything. But back to the mentality of Tua. One thing that we've seen a lot, especially in the last couple of years, is athletes come out and be more comfortable speaking out about their mental health. The most recent one that we've seen was Dion Waiters, I think earlier this week or last week, talked about just how rough it got for him when he was in the league. And he wasn't even necessarily a guy that was under the microscope 24/7. Like we've seen athletes like DeMar DeRozan speak out about it. And every time it does, it's a real breath of fresh air that, reminds you that these guys are people too. But even DeMar DeRozan didn't necessarily have the spotlight over him at all times like Tua. Again, a guy who's had nothing but success his entire career is just smack with the reality that, like, hey, you're smaller than everybody. You're not as fast as everybody. You're not as strong as everybody. Your coach doesn't like you. The media is trying to crucify you and point out every single flaw. And then you come out, you don't play that great for the first year and a half, 2 years, and just everything starts going your way. It makes sense that just mentally deteriorates a man, makes him question himself, literally and physically look at himself in the mirror, wondering whether he's good enough. And then you start to see the signs that, maybe that page is turned. And, I'm not a psychology major. I actually thought about being fun fact. I actually, kind of wanted to go into psychology before I didn't. But I've done a lot of research before I didn't. I've done a lot of my own research and stuff like that, and something that's very intriguing. And it's very rare that guys fully get over things that were once nagging them, especially where you're questioning like your manhood, basically, like, am I that dude? Am I that guy? You're not that guy, pal. But these are these signs that you can see in a man starting to turn that page, start to feel comfortable, literally and metaphorically in his own skin. And it's just a tattoo. It's not the end of the world or the beginning of the world. He hasn't won the Super Bowl. He hasn't, achieved everything in his life. But just this small thing really makes me believe he is turning that page in both his life and in his career. And he's going to play even more stress-free this year. And that is just both a benefit to him and for the team.
Did you talk about the meaning of the tattoo?
I may have just in like a slight comment, but if you want to go further on,
yeah, I'll explain it. So a full sleeve of tribal tattoo for the Polynesian people is basically like you're a warrior, you're a general, you're a leader. And to have that on his arm means that, to me at least, that he finally believes, look, he is that guy. He is a warrior. He is a leader. And maybe that leads to, you feel good, you play good, you win.
Yeah, 100%. And like, he hasn't had to overcome some of the things like, actual literal warriors, but in the own sense and in a modern sense, this, he's providing for his family. He's going out there and not literally fighting, but metaphorically fighting against some of the strongest men in the world. Like what he's doing every single Sunday, where we see with him more than most quarterbacks what the negative side of that can be in terms of your physical health. How, in college, snaps the leg, this year, 2, 3, whatever you want to argue, concussions, and then you have to question like, is this right for me? Do I want to risk my family having to live with a father who mentally isn't all there because of how many times he hit his head on the ground or with another guy? And so many questions have to have been going through this guy's head in just such a short career that anytime you see like this little glimpse of some progression, some mental healing in the not physical sense, but you know what I mean, mental health healing, and just being the guy who can be the guy.